Hello there, and welcome back to the Digital in Physio podcast, where we talk everything innovation and advancement in the exciting field of rehab tech. And today is a bit different because the technology that we are talking about is not specifically rehab, but it's created by a physiotherapist. So I'm happy to talk with Kory Kindle from Vital Voice AI today to learn more about his startup, what prompted him to start it, and the journey so far. Welcome, Kory.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to speak with you for many reasons. One of them, you being a physiotherapist and then transitioning to found a health tech startup. So why don't we start there? Why don't you tell me a little bit about like this journey? What prompted you to start? Are you still practicing? Did you leave clinical world altogether? So let me know more about that.
Yeah. I haven't left clinical work yet. I actually am going to go fulfill a 6-hour shift after we get done talking.
Amazing.
I'm at a hospital that I work at here in Silicon Valley called El Camino Health. And so, yeah, I think a little bit about the journey. I've been a physical therapist for a little over 6 years now. Worked primarily in acute care settings, but I've also worked in inpatient rehab and skilled nursing and independent living and skilled nursing. Said skilled nursing. I've worked in a lot of different avenues, and I think over the past 6 years, I have ran into my fair share of patients that don't speak English. And when you have these patients that don't speak English, it's a lot harder to communicate with them just naturally using a translator or interpreter or not. And when that person or that language line tool isn't fully available, it makes our jobs even harder to communicate with those patients that don't speak English. And so I'm sure we'll get into a little bit about Vital Voice, but that's how I got started in this journey of Vital Voice.
hmm Yeah, so yeah, speaking of, so it's basically a tool that uses AI to allow for instant translation. So basically, we have many applications that do in our regular day to day. What's different with Vital Voice? What was the difference that prompted you to create this product specifically for the medical world?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like a lot of the LLMs have created their own just real-time translator, and I think those tools are great. I don't think there's a problem with them in a general use case, but when you're a healthcare provider, or in our instance with our niche right now in EMS, first responder space, to get out your phone, to go to Google Translate or to ChatGPT, to prompt it to maybe type things in. Maybe it doesn't look as well as the first responder wants it to look, work, or act as it needs to for their line of work or for our line of work in healthcare. I felt it wasn't sufficient enough, and so just getting into like the almost like the nooks and the crannies of making it specific for EMS and healthcare work. Of when you open it, it opens immediately. You get a response immediately. You pick your language immediately. We have auto detect immediately. We have all of these features that first responders and healthcare practitioners have helped build specifically for their job. And then just continuing on that of fully HIPAA compliance. Uh, Google Translate, ChatGPT, all these other LLMs that have created their own translator to get better. For these LLMs to get better, they have to learn on recordings and from storage that's being had with multiple conversations that are being had. And so, if you can imagine with protected health information, you don't want specific LLMs to continue learning and housing that sort of data: patient name, patient address, patient diagnosis, chief complaint, all of these things that could essentially at some point be leaked. And so, our model doesn't house any of that information. So it's fully HIPAA compliant. And so the LLMs are not working on maintaining and keeping any of the information that we store on our hand.
Okay, so how do those model then how do they learn? And where does this data go? like technically speaking, when the interaction is over, where is this data stored or sent, or is it like deleted on spot? How
Yes.
is that managed?
So the conversation is had on device. So it's being held on an MDM device. So we're working with first responders and firefighters, and so it's held on device on their ends of things, and so their devices you you need to be able to unlock their device first. You need to go into the Vital Voice app, and then you can look at all the transcriptions that you've had over the past 48 hours. We delete every conversation after 48 hours on the front end. On our ends of things, we don't track any sort of transcription that's being had. We can only see from our end and on our servers that there was a session ID that took place, for how long it took place, and then from that, if they have given us any sort of ratings, or we have a survey at the end of each conversation. So if they've given us like 7 out of 7 stars, we can see that. But that's it on our end. Otherwise, it's being housed on device with the firefighter, the paramedic, or healthcare provider that's using it. And they can manually go in and delete it, or we delete it automatically in 48 hours.
Oh, sorry, that's good. So, basically, you are keeping this conversation in place until they get back to their duty, report on what happened, and then it's all gone.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so this brings me to a question like there there must be definitely a process going on right now, um, other than Vital Voice. So, what is the process that those people are using now?
Well, yeah, so some of them aren't using anything. And so some people, yeah. I mean, one of our pilot partners right now, they haven't used any sort of language tool in their communities to try to communicate with any other with any patients in the field, which is insane to me. But also,
Yeah.
like, if on top of that, the reason why they don't is because these companies such as Language Line or Seercom, any of these top companies that have been in interpreter translation services for a while in healthcare and first responders, they're really expensive. And so they charge quite a bit of money, to use the tool. And when you use the tool, typically what happens, it's like, you have a patient in front of you, and then it's like you get on a call, and uh, when you're on the call, the language line representative says, "Hi, my name is so and so. I'm going to be doing translation for you today. Can I introduce myself to the patient?" And it's like, why are we why do we need to waste all this time to have this song and dance? Why do we have to do this? And so then they introduce themselves to the patient, and that whole conversation takes 2 minutes. And so you have to imagine, as a first responder, which some of them are using language line, this is happening. And so this is why they don't use any products, because it's a waste of time. And so they're using a language line tool. They're using Google Translate and ChatGPT that are not HIPAA compliant. And so we're covering all of those bases, and also having the ability to now be able to import conversations into an electronic health record, or a patient chart report, which is used in first responder and EMS.
That's amazing. The thing is, the field where this emergency is happening, it takes me to the idea of like when those, of course they are trained professionals, but those first responders appearing on the scene of tragic incident, um like how easy it is for them to like remember they have vital voice, to use it, and like to be able to communicate with the people who are injured, or the patients on the ground. What is this process like? So I understand, like in any medical practice or in any response, we are used to checklists. We do this. Is Vital Voice being deployed this way? Like it's became a part of the practice, or is that an afterthought when people are overwhelmed with rescuing?
Yeah, it's a great question. Like, I feel like we're in such an early phase of this, where it's
Hmm.
like it wasn't used at all. Like they weren't communicating with patients that didn't speak English beforehand with anything.
Mm. Mm.
And so now you give them a tool, and now they're going to break the tool. The tool's not going to work as 100% it should. And so while they know that like with every 1 in 15 call you get, in their case 1 in every 4 call that they get is a Spanish speaking person,
Mm-hmm.
it just takes time to use it enough now to where you build cases where it's like, okay, wow, like, for instance, like we went from using it 0 times. And then while I was in Colorado, there was a couple days there where there were a couple paramedics that used it on calls. And so the first one was like a 6.5 minute Spanish speaking patient. Uh, they were waiting for language line, and then he had remembered, or we had just used vital voice. And so we were like, oh, we'll just use vital voice on this call. And
Mm.
we used it for 6.5 minutes. And so then you get that buy-in from that paramedic of like, wow, like I know when it works as it's intended to, it's going to be superior to any other product that we've used. And so you've gone from now 0 to like 1 case study. And then we just started another pilot in Northern California up here, and got on the phone with a firefighter that used it on a call with Spanish speaking patient in a motor vehicle accident. And he's like, it was flawless. Like it worked great. So now we have more case studies. So now it's like kind of like piling on top of each other, where it's like, if we can get to a place where we've had the amount of, let's just say like 50 testimonials from like actual cases of this happening and them using it, then I believe it will be a checklist process of like, okay, whenever you get a different speaking language other than English, you have to use Vital Voice, or you need to be using Vital Voice, because it could potentially like help out. And we haven't got to the point yet. It always brings me back to like an Apple commercial of using the watch and
Mm-hmm.
for saving someone's life. And like this surfer is like out in the middle of the ocean, and he's able to like use a beacon on his Apple Watch and literally get rescued. And that was like a real story. And that's like, I mean, like that's a like one case study. And sure, is that going to happen all the time? Like, no, it's not going to happen. But the fact of the matter that like that watch did that and it saved that person's life. If we ever got to the point where like Vital Voice has like helped save someone's life, or then it'll be a no-brainer. But until then, it'll still be this process of compiling and compounding more case studies,
Yeah.
if
So
that makes sense.
yeah, I hear you. So it's just still early.
Yes.
uh, when we reach the point where not necessarily saving, like, of course, saving a human life is like the ultimate goal of any rescue mission, or it's the goal for first responders. But I mean, it does not need to be that grave of a condition, like that's that severe condition for
No.
us to understand how important this is, because usually people are stressed when they are in injury, and that's something maybe I talked to you about before. Is I believe that when we are in a survival state, our executive functioning shuts down. So even for people who are good English speakers but they are not native English speakers, they might default to their original language when they are distressed. So I think there are places where this will prove important, because we are not only looking for uh, superficial information. Maybe there's something important that the person needs to tell that is important for the paramedic to listen to. And it's not like, what's my name and what do I do, and maybe what I'm feeling. It's important for them, or maybe I fell on my back and now my whole legs are tingling, but I still managed to get up, and now they know that there's a back injury and this patient needs to be strapped differently. So those small details that sometimes, even if someone like manages to introduce themselves or speak English well, they might not be able to say those words in English. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree. And I think I took it too far by saying like Vital Voice is going to save someone's life. But like,
yeah,
that's
it
just the,
does.
that's just the magnitude of
Yeah.
what it could be. And I feel like what we've talked about with other departments or healthcare providers is like Also, like a lot of patients that don't speak English who refer back to their language in those stress situations are business owners. And this is another thing that we've talked about in working with like fire inspections. So like a lot of like, Spanish speaking businesses in Colorado that, when you show up as a fire inspector from the fire department, you're wearing a badge. And so a lot of people get threatened by these things and they just get nervous. It's just a natural thing. And so typically you didn't have anything that you can communicate. Now you have something that can bridge that gap of communication and make people feel less threatened when you're coming in to, look at their business, or whether it's just a bystander on the road that you just have a question about, or someone comes up to you in a frantic environment, and now you have a tool that you can communicate with them. Before, you didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a gap, and what I meant to say is you do not need to reach the point where you save a life to say like this technology is needed and it's important. Sometimes you might be able to save someone's life. Sometimes it's like just like putting them in a situation of less distress. This just helps, and so my second question will be, so that's AI, and we are being skeptical of AI. So even people who are advocating for AI, there is still this element of, well, that it hallucinates, it might be biased, it might get things wrong. Where do you think the human element can break in here, especially that we are speaking about like moments in these situations, right? It's like moments of rescue, moments of contact, and then like everything will be done in a few moments. So in some of the all the practices, it's just as you said, like the prompter and someone, the interpreter on the phone, but we are kind of bringing something more efficient and more viable for people in the field, on the ground. But when do you say, like, you know what, we cannot just say that AI will work alone. We need some human judgment. Do you think, I know it's still early, but do you think there is some kind of framework where you say, well, we need a human in the loop in here? What do you think?
Yeah, I do. I think for this type of work, I think a human in the loop will most likely always exist because of any sort of discrepancy or dilemma that happens. And I think it's up to the discretion of the healthcare provider and the paramedic on scene. And if they feel like they need to escalate it to like a language line or a human interpreter, um, but that's going to be subjective
Mm-hmm.
based upon what's going on. And the more people use technology, the more people use technology, the more they're going to rely on it. But yes, like, you're going to be going into surgery, let's say, and you want to make sure 100% certain you're doing the surgery on the right leg. Like at this very moment, you're going to still use a human translator because you're not going to hang your hat on a 99% interpreter at this very moment. And I don't think you should. Like, I don't think there's enough buy-in from the community yet with AI, and that's okay. But for basic life support where you're showing up to scene and it's like, you're going to go to the hospital anyway. And on that ride to the hospital, they're not going to be doing surgery. They might give you an IV, but for the most part, unless you're having some significant, advanced life support, it's going to be simple stuff. It's going to be your name. And I've sat on a lot of these ride alongs. It's going to be your name, your date of birth, your address, what's going on, when did you start feeling pain? And this is on the ride to the hospital. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
when you get to the hospital, sure, maybe use a translator if you're going to perform surgery on them. But in the meantime, I think for like the basic stuff, even like some advanced stuff, I think that what we're doing with the word array, where these LLMs are superior products now that we're leveraging, I feel like people are becoming more open to the idea of like, oh, this is just what this is. This is fine. This is my new interpreter. I understand that.
Yeah, sorry.
But I do feel like the human in the loop will be there for quite some time going forward, especially in the hospital.
Yeah, so I get you. So it's like the basic stuff until we get the person out of the distress situation. We just need those. We can say the consent is important at this part, and also the first responder themselves, if they want to perform a procedure and they want to take the consent of the patient, it's also like two-way translation, right? So it's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's two-way translation, and it's just really interesting too, like getting into like the whole translation interpretation space, because what's to say, and this was a question, like a great question by some paramedics when I was in Colorado, and what's to say the human translator is not translating the right thing? And there's been anecdotal testimonials from firefighters, paramedics, first responders, where it's like the patients in clear distress, and the translator saying that they're not in pain. So it's like, for us, it's easy to justify whether that patient's in pain or not. They're telling you that they're in pain. We're recording the conversation from a transcription standpoint, and we're saving that transcription. So now the patient, the provider, can go back and look at this and say, oh, this is exactly what was being said. Comparatively to, like, when I go work at the hospital right now, yeah, we have a language line tool. If I have a Vietnamese speaker, though, and I need to go back and see what they said was true or not, or anything happens to me, nothing is going to help me in the court of law right now.
Hmm.
It's just their word versus my word, and patient's word wins a lot of times, regardless of the fact. And so, at least with us, we're keeping that transcription. We're keeping, now paramedics and firefighters want us to keep audio recordings potentially of things where 8 months ago no one wanted to do that. And so, because they see that how this could help them um, in the court of law someday, if that ever were to be a thing, which we never want to have happen. But now we have recordings of this.
Okay. So you are charting into legal territory as well, not just the medical, and that's actually an important point. So you are providing kind of um protection for both the paramedic and the patient. So if something clearly went wrong, we know what happened, and there's no that the error of being lost in translation is going down, right?
Yeah, it's going down, and the languages that we've picked to be on our platform wasn't just because, oh, let's use every single language known to man and throw it on our platform. It's the ones that we choose is because the error rate is less than 1%. And the error rate is simply due because of what is being said and not translating it back. That's it. And that's less than 1%. And we get the question a lot of like, well, how do you know? And I'm like, well, these LLMs have had hundreds of years of learning from audio recordings, from video recordings, dictionary. Like, the fact that they're less than 1% wrong is, I think, better than a human. And I think there's more to it. And then this is just the translation piece of it. We haven't got to like the full interpreter space where, because interpreting a conversation is different than translating a conversation. Translating is word for word. Interpreting is like cultural, ethnic, just the way words are said from different types of areas, and turning that into a conversation between two people. And so, you know, I think the translation piece, though, with the one less than 1% is incredible, and that's why we hang our hat on it.
Well, that's a very good distinction that you've done here. So it's translation, not interpretation, which will vary dramatically when someone is talking from a different context or have different way of expressing things. And like, how do you think that plays a role um, during the conversation in those situations? So since you said, you know what, we are targeting like emergency workers and first responders. So in this case, you feel like it's just like uh, a very superficial conversation where we are picking on the important stuff. We don't need to really
Exactly.
go deep and interpret.
Exactly. Yeah, a great way to put it, like a great example is I was onboarding some firefighters, and there was a firefighter that spoke French. And so during these demos, people want to see live presentations, which is great. And so we went back and forth between French and English for 5 exchanges. And afterwards he was like, "Oh, interesting. Like, um, I speak like French, but this was like Quebec French." And I was like, "But you understood what was being said." Like, and that's the point, is like, we're just trying to get, like you said, like basic information. Like when these paramedics and first responders show up on scene, they're not trying to get the most detailed, description of your house inside. They're trying to see why did you call 911? Oh, I have pain in my chest. Okay. How long ago did it start? 10 minutes ago. Is it radiating anywhere? Uh, yes. Going down my, like, the conversation is like so quick and to the point where it's like, it might just be 5 exchanges. Okay, let's get a 12 lead on. Let's start running vitals. Let's load them back up into the ambulance, and we have to take you to the hospital. Like, you might be having a heart attack, rather than like, oh, it's cool. It looks like in your house that you have like you have pictures hanging up like from Picasso, and you have this nice floor and this nice rug and this nice dog, and the dog is brown. And wow, what's the dog's name?
Yeah,
Like, if it
yeah,
translates that into like even Spanish, it's not going to go the way that you want it to go. It's going to be all over the place.
yeah.
And so I think that's just the
Literal
difference of
translation.
what
Yeah.
we're trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's an amazing distinction. Actually, it clarifies a lot of the stuff. So one more thing that I'd love to know from you: does this work online? If someone doesn't have a connection, if there's a, I don't know, like a big natural disaster happening, a hurricane, the lines are cut, there's no coverage. Does it work offline or no?
Not yet. Not
Not yet.
yet. That's the number one question from everyone, and we want to get it there. It's just we don't have all of the resources to spend all of that time and energy on that right now. Um, Once we get there, we will, and we'll do it. And we have the understanding of what we need to do. It's just a massive undertaking and requires a lot of data and a lot of like customizing of engineering, which we've already done. But right now we're just working on kind of spreading the word and making sure people are using it, and making sure that we're doing the job that we intend to do, at least, partially right now, which is better than nothing that they were using beforehand.
No, it's cool to know that there is stuff still like hanging that you are working on.
There's so much stuff.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I appreciate about you is that you're up and about your journey since the beginning. It's like you're really building in public. It's not like, oh, we built everything and now we are just telling you about it. So yeah, that's a big thing. Especially on this podcast where I think it's rehab professionals that are the people watching and listening. It's important for them to know, like, you don't have to figure everything out before you go. It's like figuring it on the way.
Yeah, we're figuring it out fully on the fly. And, I think that also, with just a bit of a soapbox here, like with like the way technology is nowadays and how you can leverage it and how you can maneuver it. And I believe that like healthcare providers should be paving the way for health tech products. Like, there's been too long of using either big LLMs now, or prior juggernauts such as like Epic and Cerner, that are companies that have been established by non-healthcare practitioners, and they are continuing on. And I'm not saying this is like a competition or anything, but like, so many times at work, I'm going to go to work in like an hour, and everyone is going to be complaining again about the technology at work, and like, oh, I wish it could be more efficient and better. And I'm like, well, then we have to be the ones that like take the leap and kind of create it. I think healthcare overall gives you like such a great golden handcuff of like, they treat you pretty well as employees, and if you work for a hospital in the US. And it's like, but if you want to like pave the way and be a pioneer and like try to improve your processes for yourself, like you have to try to do something like that. And so I think and I'm just bringing it back to like where we are today with like technology. It's like, I don't vibe code, but I have access to it. Like I know I could if I really wanted to. I don't think my talents are there, but like you can contract with people, like you can talk to other people, like even you and I, like we met over LinkedIn. Like
Yes.
that's how a lot of people I've connected with in the health tech space and just in the fire space. And sure,
Yeah.
like you're going to strike out 99 out of 100 times probably right now, but I think it just takes that one time for, somebody of magnitude to say like, yeah, like let's try it out.
Yeah.
So, and that's where we are right now still. But in the meantime, like we have great partners and great pilot partners that we're working with and are stoked about, and they're happy to work with us right now. So,
That's great. Yeah, that's what matters. And tell me more about those pilots. So, how many pilots are you running? What's the feedback that you're getting so far?
So we're just ending 2 pilots in Colorado. We're starting another pilot in Colorado next week. We have 3 more meetings next week with new potential partners in Colorado. We just started a pilot in Fairfield in California, Northern California. Um, we're in early phase talks with like a Cal Fire, which is a, a bigger fire to protection district.
Mm,
And so the early feedback that we've been getting from the pilots are great. Like they went from the EMS chiefs were like, "Oh, we haven't used anything like this ever. Hopefully they use it. Maybe they won't. I don't know." That was kind of our feedback early on, and then you go out and you get feedback and people are using it and we can see that people are using it. And um, now is every score a 7? No, but at least they're trying. They went from
mm,
not using something to using something. Like if you were just to this is a terrible example probably, but like have a self-driving car that like showed up and it's never been used before and now like everyone's using it and you expect it to work 100%, that's not going to happen. There's going to be flaws with it. And so early on, we noticed there was a couple things, a couple bugs that we figured out and fixed. And so out of like 100 uses now, our rating is a 5.25 out of 7. And
mm,
so anything over like 5.5 is pretty much gold standard. And so we've done pretty well for our very first pilot, like ever in this space. And we're starting to work towards these pilots on not just doing like a translation piece, but we're also doing like English to English. And so now we're able to like just fully ambient scribe everything that's going on in conversation and be able to pull those data points for compliance and quality assurance in real time. And so also being able to do that in the languages that we have. So it's a live translator interpreter while pulling information that you need for your documentation to hopefully
uh-huh.
improve that documentation. So pilots are going well. We're busy, and I didn't think it would ever. I didn't think it was going to be this busy. I was like, I just didn't know if anyone would use it. And now people want to use it, which is fantastic.
Perfect. So maybe it's early to ask, but like, just do you have any idea how this business model is gonna be run? Is it like a membership, or how does it work?
Well, we know for like fire stations or fire departments, we have an annual charge per fire station. So if you have so we charge $250 annually per fire station. And so if you have 4 fire stations, that's $1,000 per year. And so you don't have to worry about how much you're using it, who's using it, where it's being used within like the business realm. But and that's for now with just the translation side of things. We still haven't gotten into like the ambulance side. Or another topic that we're starting to explore is police departments that don't use translation services as well. And so we don't know, like we have an idea about how big the market is in fire, but we're okay with like where we're charging and what we're doing for now at this point with just where AI is. Like it's a really great niche to be in with a great tool that isn't trying to be the next like epic of fire
Hmm.
or EHR of fire. But I think where we are right now, just like the and charging that amount is perfect for where we are.
Yeah, perfect. And there is something that I told you before. I want to repeat it here for the sake of if anyone listens to this conversation. There are specific cities in the world that need this technology more than others. We talked before about how I'm here in Toronto, and uh, like Toronto's population, as far as I know, I don't know if this is accurate, it's like 70% of the people here were not born here. So they are immigrants and expats. And I've seen many like old ladies and men uh, who who don't speak English well. So they still have their original languages of Korean, Chinese, Farisi, whatever it is. So in cities like Toronto, I think this is like an essential technology because as we said, like even if they speak a little bit of English during the stress, it will be hard for them to express themselves and say exactly what's going on or what's happening. So there are those like specific cities of the world that really do need this technology. So this is an invitation for anyone in my network here in Toronto. If you can like check Kory out for this technology, speak to them and see how they can help you, that would be amazing. Do you have any other, Kory, any other like domains or cities that you are trying to break into next?
Yeah, we are close to breaking into Los Angeles. Um, Very big Asian speaking population that their EMS and fire agencies are having a lot of trouble with. Seattle as well. Other than that, still like the Denver metro area, we're open to anything. It's challenging when you're a two-man show, and we're still trying to like I think we're always going to be trying to refine the product and the process. And just I think we're still waiting for that moment when we're like, you know what, I think we're ready to really go for it and shoot our shot with like, all of the big metros such as like a New York or like a Toronto or Florida, like Miami specifically, or that or Texas, like those types of places. But we're working together with like the EMS medical director and assistant medical director in Los Angeles right now. And they're trying to make sure that like what we're doing is good for EMS. So we're kind of going through like the steps of like passing a bunch of like innovation boards, IT boards, and making sure that like they can throw us on a list and be confident of the services that we're providing. And so I think that will be huge for us.
Mm,
And if we can land that, then we'll fully know how to start immersing ourselves in other big metros that, for the most part, probably English is a second language or a third language.
yeah, yeah, that's all right. So you've talked about this like being an LLM. Where are you getting this data from? Is it built on what program, on what AI? So where is this data coming from?
A bit proprietary.
Oh, okay.
um, we're leveraging a lot of different large language models, and as a CFO of a company told us, is that we're basically plumbers at this point,
Oh,
which
okay.
to that note, you know, take that for what you want. But no, we're leveraging a bunch of LLMs. We're using backend servers that are pretty general for the most part, but we're creating it and curating it specifically for EMS and fire at this very moment, and we're
Hmm.
being able to like embed ourselves inside different patient chart report companies. And so sure, it's a little bit of plumbing, but also that's just what the internet is in general.
Yes, yeah.
It's just people putting pieces together that weren't putting pieces together beforehand.
Yeah, that's the meaning of innovation actually. So yeah, it's good to know. It's better than telling me like we have this company and we are building on top of it. So it's like something that you are creating specifically for your own company and the challenges that you solve.
Yeah,
Hmm.
100%. Accessibility, language access, equity, all of those things that I struggled with every day. I'll probably struggle with today. I mean, there's a huge speaking population, just a diverse population in Silicon Valley where I live. You go walk outside, people are speaking different languages. Every time I work at the hospital, I have someone that speaks Korean, Vietnamese, Tagalog, Spanish, German, Russian, like whatever it is. Like I'll have at least one a day,
Hmm.
and I'll have to wait. I'll have to hope that a language line works. And if it's not Spanish, good luck.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I like it's I'm happy to see you like solving a challenge that you faced on day-to-day basis. And one last thing. I know you are two people working on this company, so you are a co-founder. Can you like give me some background on your co-founder? You are the healthcare guy, he's the tech guy. Is it like that, or is there a mix and match?
Yeah, that is exactly what it is. His name is Ishan Ahuja, and he is living currently in India. He is a software engineer, full stack software engineer, has been working with AI now for years before the AI talk. He was a technical co-founder at another ed tech startup in the States before moving back to India for family reasons. And so he went to school out here in Chicago, graduated with his bachelor's, and then moved back to India. And so yeah, it's just been us two. We have a really interesting story. Like I feel like if we ever make it, it'll be a while. And not I feel like we've made it. Like we're it's not like, oh, we haven't made it. I feel like if there's ever a time where capital can talk for what we've done, I think we will have a really interesting story to share. Like we met through Reddit
Hmm.
after I got uh, just a how do I say this? Just a I had a terrible experience working with a couple technical founders before this, but just that it hasn't been the same. Like this has been a great experience for me. Working with Ashan, we met through Reddit, how to find a CTO. We contracted for 5 months beforehand. I just paid him monthly to finish projects and stuff. And then uh, he was also working on his own startup at the time. And I had learned from my previous mistakes and, still learning from stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, we met, we've worked together. And then I started getting in front of people, like coming to San Francisco and presenting to groups like boards of EMS directors. And I was like, hey, man, like, I'm really I don't. I think we could really try to do something together here, and I think if I'm not paying you, and we can kind of partner up and see how this goes for a bit, I think that would probably be the best for us together. And since then, we've just been doing this as partners together. We have a partnership agreement. We hope it goes somewhere, and the goal is to get him back to the States at some point if we can raise money at some point to be able to do that. And so it's been great. It's been fantastic communication. We talk every day, and we've invited him. I invite him to our wedding, my wedding next
Uh,
year or this year. So we'll see if he comes, just him and his family. No, it's been good. I'm sure he'll listen to this, and yeah, I'm just super grateful, to be
yeah.
completely honest.
Yeah, that's perfect. So you're handling the part of like the healthcare and the healthcare like settings and your experience with hospitals and patients, and he's the one covering for the technical part. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, that's perfect. And you are now looking for investors. You're not moving on in a bootstrapped fashion.
We were raising. We got to a point where we were going to close around with strategic investor that sadly ended up not going the way we wanted to. So they ended up backing out. And thankfully. We were just advised by great people around us that we should just continue on for now, and we'll get that investor at the right time if that's what we want to if that's the route we want to go. And I'm sure it will be at some point. We're just not there yet. Like there's a lot of companies that this world of healthcare and government, and it's going to take a little bit longer to get revenue. So I'd rather just try to do that ourselves for now, get to a point where we can show for it, and then take some investment money. I think that's the best route. So we're going to hold off for now after having that happen to us. So we're just going to keep with these pilots, get our first customers, and go from there.
Yeah, that's perfect. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Is
Appreciate
there
it.
is there anything? Yeah, of course. Is there anything like if someone is hearing this conversation and they'd like to reach out for you, what's the best way that they can reach you?
I feel like LinkedIn has
Mm,
been a great tool and resource. If if my LinkedIn is, I think it's LinkedIn's / Kory Kindle, and
yeah, I'll
then
link to that. Yeah,
yeah, and then I would say email as well is a good place. We've started getting inbounded, which has been nice. So yeah, that'll be great. Two ways to communicate to start
yeah.
with.
And anything else, like if someone is hearing today, anything else you'd love to say? Yeah, maybe something I didn't ask about or we didn't get into.
No, I think we've covered a lot. I feel like if you want your software to be if you want your translation, interpretation, and just health tech software being built and being ran well, people need health care providers to build it,
That's
to have
right.
say in it, not just be a key opinion leader or sit on a board for these LLMs. Like you need someone driving the company forward.
100%. So thank you, Corey. Thank you for your time. And best regards to Ishan as well. And best of luck in your journey. Maybe we'll talk in a few years and you'll have like a breakthrough.
Hopefully so. That's the
Yeah,
goal.
yeah, I hope so. Okay, we'll talk
Thank you.
soon. Bye.
Okay. All right. Bye.